Hello. Today we're going to be learning Likkutei Torah Daf Samach Zayin, and we're going to begin by finishing the bir on the Maimer Al Kein Yemru HaMoshlim, which was the last Maimer in Parshas Chukas, and then we are going to begin the new Maimer, which is in the beginning of Parshas Balak. So this Maimer was based on a pasuk which reads Al Kein Yemru HaMoshlim Bo Cheshben Tibana V'Zikain Ir סיחון. Concerning this, those who speak in Mishalim say, come to Cheshben and may be built and established as a city of סיחון. And Alter Rebbe did a translation of this pasuk in the following pasuk and described it as being the entire process of a Jew accomplishing his mission in the world, accomplishing his goal in the world, which in the Alter Rebbe's words, in the Alter Rebbe's version, is that he is being miyached sevim mamal. This is the goal of Jews on earth, and these two psukim, this pasuk and the following pasuk, the Alter Rebbe demonstrates how the entire process and the entire purpose of the Jewish people is laid out in these two psukim. And one of the key points that he said was reading Ir סיחון, which literally would translate as the city of סיחון, of the king סיחון. Instead of reading it סיחון with a samach, it's סיחון with a sin. So it's the city of speech. Right? It's siach, and he translated speech as being davening. So Ir סיחון is a reference to the avodah of tefillah, which he explained at length in the theme of the Maimer. So now we're going to return to that idea in the bir, and we're saying that סיחון is tefillah. And tefillah in Aramaic is called Tzlotא. So and this is the way that it's translated in Sefer Daniel, when it says that in Daniel davened, it uses the word umetzale, and in the Chumash, when it says that Yitzchak davened, it says v'yater Yitzchak, and the Targum translates that as Vitzali. So what is the idea of mitzale? What the word in the word mitzale means? Turning, or realigning, or changing one's predilection. So inclining towards. So the word mitzale, we are now going to plug back into tefillah as the idea that tefillah is, in its essence, focused around changing perspective, on veering, on changing one's predilection. And whose predilection are we trying to change when it comes to davening? Is the Eibishter's. We're trying to, this is the idea of the Rtzon. We're trying to, when we say Rtzon, what we're saying is, may it be your will. What we're trying to do is not only draw down a will, but to create the will in the first place. And that we're trying to make the Eibishter want what we're asking for. And the idea of the Eibishter's will is, of course, Keser, and this is the idea that it says that the Malachim are attaching Ksarim, are attaching crowns to the tefillas of the Yidden, because it's connecting that which we've davened for with the Rtzon that we are hoping that the Eibishter has. Now, what is the Kabbalistic process by which this can occur? This is drawing down Amshachas of Keser, and practically this is the idea that Malchus of Atzilus is called Atik and Keser of Bria. In other words, the higher level gets translated. The lowest part of the higher world gets translated as the Rtzon, as the fuel, as the driving force of the lower world. This exists not only in Atzilus to Bria, but also in Malchus of Ein Sof, which becomes Atik and Keser of Atzilus. And this is the idea of davening. This is the idea of the predilection that we're trying to influence, that we're trying to sway, so to speak, that there be a ha'ara of our Ein Sof, and that it be drawn down in the form of Keser of Atzilus, and this is the this is kind of a reference to the fact that atik is one of the translations of the word atik is the idea of copying and pasting. That when we daven, we're trying to draw down a will, but not just a will. We're trying to draw down in an atik way, which is that we're trying to extract from one state of being, meaning the Eibishter's will as it is itself, and we're trying to make that evident and make that apparent all the way in our world. Now, in framing tefillah in this way, we now can gain a appreciation of a fascinating Gemara, which says that when a person is davening and he doesn't wait for his friend who is, and he davens instead by himself, he does no less than chasing the Shechina and causing it to leave Klal Yisrael. So what this Gemara is making clear is that the point of davening is to draw down Milmayl Lamata, and specifically to draw down the hamshacha of atik and keser, and this is the hashras hashchina. This is the hashras hashchina that the Gemara is referencing. The idea of the proof that hamshachas keser can be called hashras hashchina is based on the fact that that Malchus of Atzilus becomes that when we talk about Malchus of Atzilus becoming atik of Bria, this is referred to as the Shechina resting within Bia. And so when a person blocks his friend from davening, when a person thus prevents davening from successfully being played out, he is thus preventing the Shechina from being Sheira, meaning he is preventing this hamshacha of Keser. And this ties in with another interpretation of the word tefillah, of the word tefillah as sicha, which is that it has to do with movement or turning. As it says in Chazal that when the Yidden say Amen Yeshmei Rabba, the Eibishter nods his head. And what is this nodding? So this is similar to the V'yisa Havai as Hevel al Hevel, that God turned towards Hevel and accepted his offering. And this is the idea of God directing himself towards us, that happens as a reaction to our prayer. That when we daven, we cause this hamshach as a keser, we cause God to be drawn towards what we are requesting. Now, Zelu Mazas Elakim, which means that just like there is speech that is capable of drawing down keser, ir סיחון can also be read as deklipa. And this is and in this sense it would be the ir סיחון, right? And this would be the hamshacha of klipa that we are also just as capable of doing, and that would be when we use our speech rather than using it for prayer, we use it for lashon hara. And the reference to the city is quite specific. That we find that words and letters can be called the building blocks for a house, and the building blocks, and that speech in general can be called a city. And there's a way of reading this ir סיחון as that I have chosen that if I choose to devote my energies and my ability to speak to klipa, then I'm creating and I'm building a city which is a city of evil. It's a city of klipa. And this is the idea of umagad la'adam masicha, which is reference to earlier on in the mimer, that a person has the choice whether he's going to devote his speech to klipa, where he's not going to control his yetzer hara, and he's going to allow his faculty of speech to build this city of letters and words that are dvarim asurim, or it can be speech of Torah. And when it's speech of Torah, then it has this quality of ma, the quality of bittul, which has the ability to refine the world and to make the world better. And so with this we conclude our beer on the idea of tefillah, and with this we conclude our beer on the Maimer al Kein Yamra.
And now we're going to begin the Maimer Mimana, which is the first Maimer for Parshas Balak. So the pasuk begins Mimana Afar. The Maimer begins with the pasuk Mimana Afar Ya'akov u'mispar es Reva Yisrael, which translates as who can count the dust of Yaakov and who can calculate the Reva Yisrael. So there's two interpretations of the word Reva. Either Reva means a fourth, or Reva means four. And this refers to the fact that in Yisrael there are 4 levels. This is based on the pasuk V'lechvaydi b'rasav yitzartiv afasisiv, and the which is a reference to machshava, dibur, and maisa. B'rasav is machshava because it is because it is yesh ma'ayin. It's a creation, just like b'rasav. So too machshava creates something from nothing. Yitzartiv is dibur because it gives form and letters to the to machshava, and asisiv is maisa, and this is why in the pasuk it says af asisiv, even my causations, right? This af is to indicate that action is something that creates a totally separate entity, which cannot be compared to the way that dibur contrasts with machshava, right? Where because when it comes to speech, you say exactly what you think, but when it comes to action, what you do is its own gashmius. It creates its own completely independent entity. Now there's a 4th level that is higher than all these 3, because that machshava, dibur, maisa, which is hinted to in this af, because af is also an indicator of something that is not being to include something that has not been spoken, and this is something that is higher than all 3 of these and is hidden from all 3 of these. And right? And so to understand this, we also have to understand why it is that a neshama came down to this earth. Right, that we know that it's Yerid l'tzarech aliyah, but we have to understand what exactly the aliyah is that the neshama experiences, given that given that its place on high was being nana miziv hashchina, then the neshama was directly connected to an experience elikos, and what was the point of it coming down here? And we also have to understand how machshava, dibur, maisa translate into this pasuk, because we know that the Eibishter's that in general the Eibishter's qualities are not comparable to our qualities. So we have to understand the translation that we've done of this pasuk as being a machshava, dibur, maisa. We have to understand what that is a reference to. So to begin, we know that the creation of the worlds, or the revelation of the worlds from Mehelam al Gilui, is called divine speech. And this is like a person who speaks, that when a person speaks, he's revealing what was hidden in his own thought. And so too it is with the Asara Maimaris, with which the Eibishter created the universe. These Maimaris are combinations and permutations of the letters that allow the Eibishter's intent to go Mehelam al Gilui and to create things me'ayin liyesh. Now we know that the Eibishter theoretically could have created with one dibur, as it says of Ruach Piv Kol Tzava'am, that the Eibishter has this ability, and that it could have been done with b'maimer echad, as we say Baruch Aimer va'esei b'maimer echad, that the Eibishter speaks and it happens, and that is one speech, not necessarily 10. So the idea of speech is the idea of dividing up breath in a way that it breaks down into different words, and within that what that creates is an infinite permutation or infinite combinations of letters, which creates all the universe. As we say, Ayash Mispar Likkutei is there a count to his creations. And this is also why we say Baruch Havayim Malachav Giberei Kayach Eisu Dvarei L'Shmaya B'Kol Dvarei, that the Malachim that the Malachim bless him, these Giberei Kayach that do that fulfill his word, L'Shmaya B'Kol Dvarei, that they listen to the voice, they listen to the sound of his words. And the term speech, the term words, is very, very specific, because the malachim live and are sustained by dvar havaya, which is this revelation. Just like in a human being, that our speech is divided up into 5 categories of letters, so too it is that when God expresses himself, so to speak, in the through the form of speech, this creates the nuances. This creates the varieties of creation, in all of its varieties, and this is where each creation gets their individual names, and the fact that they can all be called by those individual names, like Machna Mechol. Right, and the shemus of all the different Nivrayim, as it says about Adam, that Adam named each one of the creations, and what he was doing was he was revealing their entities. Right, he was revealing their existence by calling them names, because that there are Alma de Escalion and there are Alman Sasimin, and the revealed worlds are the. And excuse me, and the Alman Sasimin Delay Escalion are the source for Alma de Escalia, and everything that is in Alma de Escalia has to have come from from Alman Sasimin, has to have come from a hidden place, as we say in the Chayes of Mamata Shnei Mazal Mamayla, that there's no blade of grass that is not being forced or pushed to grow by a mazel, and that and as is explained in many places in Chassidus, that this is a reference to the general hierarchy of creation that will ultimately come to a state of Helem, and so the Bria is only the idea of bringing Helem ala Giloi, right, from this hidden world to this revealed world. But when it comes to Yisrael alu machshava, which means Alman Sasimin, and this is like the mashal of machshava, that it's the concealed part of dibur, and dibur is the revelation that expresses that which was in machshava, and the as we see clearly that machshava, I can think about something in one moment that to explain takes a very, very long time, and this is because the kayach machshava is of a far higher quality than the kayach dibur, and the reason is that machshava is a levush pnimi, that machshava is directly connected with the nefesh, and so from the perspective of machshava, its creation is truly yesh ma'ayin, and so when it says that Adam was giving each of these beings names, which what he was naming was the physical animals, but what he was really naming was the malachim, those malachim that come from Pnei Aryeh, Pnei Shar, Pnei Nesher, and he was naming these things, giving them the names Michal and Gavriel, and bringing these combinations out and drawing them down and creating them me'ayin liyesh in the state of dvar, in the form of God, of divine speech. But when it comes to Adam, it says Adam did not have Ezer Kenegdei, right? And Ezer is shame. That Adam didn't have a name. So unlike every other being in the universe, that Adam was able to name, which by naming we're saying that he was revealing their quality of being Dvar Hashem. When it comes to Adam, Adam did not get named. because the neshama, before it comes into the body, does not have a name, because it is completely bonded to its source, because it's from a state of machshava. So unlike all the other created beings that are a dibur, so even while they exist at a machshava level, they are just waiting to come out. The neshama comes from machshava, and therefore in its source, it is truly indistinguishable from its source. And this is why, and the fact that they gain these names, right, and that ultimately we have Avram, Yitzchak, the fact that we have names is only in as much as they are as the neshama comes into a guf, but the neshama mitzad itself has no name, and this is why we say Echad Haya Abraham, which means that before the neshama came into the guf, he was in the state of Echad, which is machshava, which the machshava is one with the neshama, and this means that they came from almond to semen, which is that they are, which is that they are misyached with Orein Seif, in a way that before it's revealed into the world and gets divided into a distinct entity, the neshama as it is in its source is completely one with its source, and therefore by Adam Marishan we say that he included within himself all the neshamas that were to come, and that they were all in a state of echad, because the neshama, as it is in its source, is capable of being alongside its partner and not being distinct from it. It remains in this state of true achdos. And now that we have explained the true quality of the neshama, we now can understand what the neshama gains from coming into this physical world. That since in its source the neshama is one with our Ein Seif and is in a state of machshava, in this almond semen state, where it does not have the quality of a name, and devar havaya is almond galyan. So therefore, we ask in our davening, in multiple places, we ask for this yichud, yachad levavenu, yachad levavi liyira shemecha. We're asking for this yichud because what we're asking is, allow me to return to that state of yichud. Allow me to return to that state of my neshama's natural state of being one with the Eibishter. And this is the idea of Ru'us Deliba, which is the Ratan of the heart, as we know. That there are two. There's a panemius and a chitzonius. The panemius and Nekudas Halev is Ava Rabba, which Ava Rabba is L'mayla Mitam V'das, and Ava Rabba only comes as a gift, as whereas the chitzonius Halev, this comes from our minds, this comes from our meditations, and this is that we think that each person thinks about the Eibishter according to the best of their ability. And this produces a feeling of love for the Eibishter. And according to each person, according to their seichel and their hasaga, they are going to produce a love for God. Now, and we know that zelu mazeh asalakim, that just like there is the idea of knowing the Eibishter and loving him, so too inside Klipa there is the idea of knowing evil and loving evil, which is having taivas, that a taiva is that I want to separate from God, and I want to taste the sweetness of Elam Haza and taste the sweetness of Tainugei Elam Haza, right? And what I'm ultimately asking for is that I should be able to, once I've contemplated at an intellectual level that there's this possibility of being separate from God, then I pursue that possibility, and this is the midas beininus. That we see. This is the midah of the Beinani, that we know that zev is sheftan, that the Beinani is constantly wrestling with this struggle, and that when one wins, the other one is down, right? And the Beinani lives in this world of chitzonius halev, lives in this world of trying to arouse a love for God, and being conflicted by the fact that he also loves Elam Haza. But from mitzad Pnimius Halev is L'mayla Mitam V'das. And so Pnimius Halev is a gift that we receive from the Eibishter, and because it's a gift, there's no Zelum Hazeh at this level. right? When it comes to Avirabba, there's no Zelum Azeh. This comes from the Pnimius Alev. This comes from the Kodesh Alev, and this is the Yehuda. That at the Yehuda level, all I want is to love the Eibishter, to love my Father in heaven, and that love is higher than any connection to Gashmias, and all I want is to connect to Hashem, right? And this is our so to speak, our natural state. This is the Am Kareve. This is our identity, that we are the Am Kashay Erefu, right? And Kashay Eref means that our will, that our desire is Lamayla Mitam Vedas, and so we become this stiff-necked people, right? Which means that we are that we don't relate to Gashmias, that an intellectual argument is not going to sway us. We are stiff-necked in that we have this connection to the Eibishter that goes beyond any kind of intellectual argument that can be made. And this is a ahava which is easily able to control and to cause the good to dominate the bad, and to completely eradicate the chitzonim to the point that the chitzonim don't even have a finger hold, right? And this is our request of Yachid Lavavi and Yachid Lavavenu. What we're asking for when we ask the Eibishter to unite my heart, to bring me to the state of oneness, is that I want my chitzenius alev, my chitzenius aratzon, to be bonded to my pnimis aratzon, and I want to be able to be so bonded to the Eibishter in this yichud state that the chitzenius stops being a problem for me at all. Excuse me, that the deklipa stops being a problem for me at all, because it's not like at the chitzenius level where I need to engage in conversation, because at the pnimius level there is no conversation possible. All I want to do is connect to Hashem. And this is the idea of the af asisav, and we said that that af is an indicator that there's something being mentioned here that is not clear, and this is Ratzon Elyon, which is higher than machshava dibur ma'asav, and has control over them. Now, why is it that the af is featured at the end of the sentence, right? Why is it before asisav, right? In theory, if Ratzon is so much higher than machshava dibur ma'asav, it should be at the beginning. But the reason it comes before asisav is that Ratzon Elyon is primarily fulfilled through asiyah gashmias. That Ratzon is tied and is part and parcel with Maisa, right? And this is so specifically through Maisa mitzvahs that we are able to make ourselves and that we are able to engage in Surah Meirah and Aseh Tov, right? That the Ramach mitzvahs Aseh is 248 ways of bringing the Eibishter's Ratzon down, and it's specifically, as we know as a rule, that it's specifically the that it's specifically the final action which reveals the original intent. And in the Sagrayim, this is tied into two other ideas that have been mentioned earlier in different Maimarim. One is that we find that the neshamas become mahalchim specifically when they only when they come to Elam Haza, and this ties into that idea that only in Elam Haza are we able to fulfill God's will in the ultimate and correct way. And this is also the idea of bringing bringing down Seviv into the world, which is referenced elsewhere. And this is why we say in Krishma, V'hayu advarim eila asher nechi mitzavach hayim, and we also say V'hayim shemaya tishmu al musveisai, that once I've reached V'ahavta es Hashem l'ikecha b'chol v'avecha, which means with these two hearts, right, meaning pnimis and chitzonius, right, the process being that at first I started at a chitzonius level, meaning first I comprehend and I struggle at an intellectual level with connecting with the Eibishter, and through my intellectual meditation, my intellectual comprehensions, I then reach Pnimius Alev, I then reach that innermost perspective where I'm bonded with the Eibishter. And this is the reason for the whole arichos, that before Kriya Shema we have Sukkot de Zimra and we have the Birchas Kriya Shema. All of this is to move me from the Chitzonius Alev or Chitzonius Ratzon to Pnimius Ratzon. And with this we can understand why the neshama, why the neshama and the neshama have to be in a guf, because before the neshama left its source, it was one with its source. And it was in a state of machshava, which machshava, although it's not called a levush, a regular levush, it's a levush b'nimi, but the neshama was not in that state completely united with our Ein Sof. It was not totally nichlal in Ein Sof. Why? Because last machshava tfisa beklal, right? That Ein Sof, or that our Ein Sof is not operating at a machshava level, which means that from the Ein Sof level, it's the creation is not relevant. That from the Ein Sof level, the relationship with creation is simply that the Eibishter was nislabish in creation to make it possible. But when a person is experiencing this Rosa Deliba with and through Pnimius Haratzon, through the personal Pnimius Haratzon, we practice Iskafia, where we are being mavatal our Ratzon to the Ratzon of the Eibishter through Surmei Ra and Asei Tov. And this is Asei Tov specifically by actually doing physical actions through Ma'aseh Mitzvahs, and Surmei Ra, as we said before, by Iskafia. So then I'm drawing down a Ratzon of Ein Sof, I'm drawing down Ein Sof itself, and so that it's being nislabish in the Ramach or in the Malka, in the through the Ramach mitzvah saseh. And this is this is why it says in Chazal that it's better to live 1 hour here than a lifetime in Elam Haba. Because in this hour here, a person is connecting, the neshama is connecting to the Eibishter in a way far higher than any connection that could have happened on high.